Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we are talking about how it's looking like something big for Nintendo Gamecube fans is on the way. If you're interested in playing Gamecube in some way, playing Gamecube games, well then there's a few bits of info that have come up recently that are strongly supporting the idea, so we're going to be discussing what this might mean today. But before going forward, let me ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit that notification bell. So over the last few days, a few people have been pointing out that there's been some discoveries made on Family boards. Luigi Blood and Lick have been discussing custom shipping data that seems to be for different parts for a GameCube controller that has similar code names to previous Nintendo Switch Online controllers, and this is fueling the conversation that GameCube is coming to Nintendo Switch Online. Now, GameCube is the next platform after Nintendo 64 if we're talking about home consoles, and it's been something we've been wanting for a very long time. But it hasn't happened yet, and my personal speculation has been that maybe something like this would come sometime during the Nintendo Switch 2 era, because currently Nintendo is enjoying a variety of remakes and remasters from the GameCube era. We've seen things like Metroid Prime Remastered, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Super Mario Sunshine in 3D All-Stars, even some third-party ones like Baten Kaitos and Tales of Symphonia. The GameCube lineup is a treasure trove of quality games that with some reworking can be a really awesome release in this day and age. And a lot of Nintendo remasters and remakes are fully priced, so Nintendo's able to make money that is of a full game without it actually being a full game. It's a highly lucrative situation, and I personally kind of doubt that Nintendo would shoot themselves in the foot here and add GameCube games to Nintendo Switch Online, so all of a sudden this treasure trove of remakes and remasters that they can choose from is no longer nearly as significant, because a great many of them people can play on Nintendo Switch Online for a cheap annual or monthly fee. So whenever anything comes up that seems to suggest that GameCube is coming to NSO, I try to hold back on my excitement and temper my expectations. Again, I think it can happen, but I think it's gotta happen once Nintendo has sort of gone back to the remakes and remasters they would do for GameCube during these last few years of Switch, and in the thick of the Switch 2 era, once we've moved on from Switch 1, maybe we can start to see some of these games on Nintendo Switch Online. That's been my thinking, and when it comes to these code names, I would like to point out there's a variety of possibilities here. It's not 100% certain that it's GameCube coming to Switch Online. That said, maybe it is. We don't know for certain. Mike Odyssey did discover that there were some trademarks made for the GameCube controller back in January, which likely more strongly supports this idea of GameCube coming to NSO. Potentially, we do see some GameCube things happening in 2024. But let's discuss a few other possibilities here. Why would they be putting together some components for a GameCube controller in May of 2024? We have heard a lot of discussion from Nate the Hate or Nate Drake about something F-Zero related being in the works. There have been a variety of rumors that F-Zero GX from Nintendo GameCube could be getting a remaster. But maybe it's not just a basic remaster. All Nate has been confident in saying is that something F-Zero related is in the works, and that does make some sense when we consider that F-Zero 99 came out last year and has been continually supported. It does sort of feel like Nintendo was building up to something here for F-Zero. You could even make the argument that with Captain Falcon being used so often with the different cutscenes and trailers for Smash Bros., that maybe they were also trying to remind people that, hey, Captain Falcon is a part of the Nintendo universe. He's a significant character, and so maybe there is a plan here. I would love to believe that Nintendo has something F-Zero in store in the not-so-distant future. And if this is something that's based off F-Zero GX, perhaps they would want to bring in the GameCube controllers. Something about F-Zero GX is that it had a few different ways to drift, and this required the use of the GameCube controller's analog triggers. Those big gray shoulder buttons with varying levels of input. This is not something that is supported by Nintendo's primary controllers in this modern era, and so perhaps, somewhat similar to how they handled things with Smash Bros., they will want people to have the option to use something like this once F-Zero comes out. It wouldn't mean that you can't use your typical Joy-Con Zero Pro controller. I'm sure they'll find a way to make it work, but they may want to give people the option, and that's why they're working on new versions of these GameCube controllers, because there's an upcoming release of F-Zero that would take advantage of it. But since I mentioned it, they did release some GameCube controllers when Smash Bros. Was coming out. Perhaps there's something new Smash related not so far off, and they're going to be revisiting the GameCube controller again with something new Smash not too far off. Now, what would this new Smash thing be? Well, with Switch 2 not too far off, perhaps Nintendo would like to announce the next Smash Bros. That's a possibility. But also there's a possibility that perhaps Nintendo would like to do something to bolster Nintendo Switch Online that isn't a GameCube app, but rather some more free DLC. Maybe Fighters Pass Volume 1 and 2 will be made available for free to Switch Online members, and perhaps they could even announce a Volume 3, not too different from what they did with the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. That's another possibility. But let me get a little weirder here. What if it's not exactly a normal GameCube controller? What if it's something based off the GameCube controller for a GameCube style game, but not literally that because they already released it for Smash Bros.? Well, there's been some speculation that maybe they want to create a wireless one, something like the Wavebird, but also maybe they want to create an official GameCube-style Joy-Con pair of controllers. And I'm personally kind of doubtful that this is the direction they would go, but again, we are discussing possibilities here. Now, me getting extra crazy, we do have the release of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD coming out this January. And that's a Nintendo Wii game. But with this release and the Donkey Kong expansion and the various other little Donkey Kong things that have been happening over the last couple years, similar to Captain Falcon, perhaps even more so, it feels like Nintendo's building up to something bigger for Donkey Kong here. And I do think that would be a new game, but at this stage I'm kind of assuming that this new Donkey Kong game would be saved for Switch 2. But that doesn't mean they can't have other GameCube releases in the meanwhile. You look at how Nintendo's been treating the Mario RPG series as of late. We got Super Mario RPG last year, we just got Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door back in May, and we have Mario and Luigi Brothership coming out this holiday. There's a lot of Mario RPG, they're really pushing this series, so that perhaps they're going to be pushing another series, the Donkey Kong series, and perhaps Country Returns HD isn't the only one. Maybe we could see from the GameCube era Donkey Kong Jungle Beat and Donkey Kong Konga 1 and 2, and perhaps with these different GameCube Donkey Kong games, they would like to re-release the Donkey Kong GameCube Bongos. I recognize here that this is likely a stretch, especially based off what we're seeing from the custom data. There doesn't seem to be a reference to bongos, and even when we take a look at the trademarks, if this is all connected, there's nothing here that screams bongos, but technically the bongos were a form of GameCube controller. So I'm just putting it out there, mainly because I would really love to see the bongos come back. But if there isn't some sort of GameCube controller release for some sort of game that Nintendo's going to be pushing within the next year or so, then I have to say that this idea of GameCube coming to Nintendo Switch Online really does make a lot of sense. And maybe it can come to Nintendo Switch 1, but with us in the waning years, and because they are relying on a lot of remakes and remasters from that era, I would assume, not because of some sort of technical limitation, but simply for business reasons, GameCube NSO could indeed be coming, but for Nintendo Switch 2. It would be something used to spruce up Nintendo Switch Online features when they announce the changes or adjustments that will be had for the next era, for the next generation of Nintendo Switch. That to me makes more sense than expecting GameCube coming to Nintendo Switch Online for Switch 1 owners. But hey, I could be wrong. And regardless, if something GameCube's on the way, me being a GameCube fan, I'll take whatever it is, because most of the things I mentioned in today's video, I think are all possibilities, and I would enjoy them all. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.